A fabulous science fiction franchise once loved by all, destroyed by a self-absorbed douche on a power high. No, wait, that's Marvel. A glorious science fiction franchise once loved by all, destroyed by a self-absorbed douche on a power high. This is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, on PlayStation. Developed by LucasArts and produced by Big Ape Productions, this was the first Star Wars game released on the PlayStation. Released toward the end of the PS1 era, August 1999, The Phantom Menace came out the same year as Ape Escape and 1 year after Spyro the Dragon, while the PC version was released in May 18th, 1999, only one single day before the movie was released in theaters. I've had some of my close friends call the game awesome, but let's dig into its official reception, shall we? Blake Fisher in issue 59 of Next Gen magazine called the PlayStation version the path to the dark side. Most of the various gaming publications of the time favored the PC version over the PlayStation version, and even Next Gen gave the PC version 3 stars, while the PlayStation version only got 1. The most common complaints involve the terrible controls, blurry graphics, cheap gameplay, generic combat system, and overabundance of technical glitches and bugs. It was praised for being a clever and incredibly rare, faithful adaptation of a movie into a game, and yes, playing it does, for the most part, feel like playing the movie. It does take liberties, but only enough to keep the game faithful while still being its own separate entity in its own right. And bear in mind that this was back when such adaptations were automatically inherently doomed to fail. It also has the official Star Wars soundtrack, which sounds absolutely amazing, and even has a music video of the iconic Duel of the Fates score, which I can't show due to copyright reasons because, you know, Disney. Though I have to point out a strange bug where sometimes the music will suddenly cut out and won't play anymore until you reload the level. Like this scene from the level The Last Battle. Without the music, the atmosphere feels really creepy, then when you reload the game, the music comes back. I don't know if they just forgot to make the music loop here, or if they genuinely didn't know how, but it happens so often that you eventually get numb to it. This is a game I played a lot as a kid, like, a lot. I loved this game and would often go around looking for bugs and otherwise just causing general chaos, like destroying every random droid in the game, or accidentally killing random NPCs because I didn't know which button was the talk or interact button, because I didn't have an instruction manual at the time, since the copy I have is a second-hand copy from an old family video. Yeah, family video. Remember those? But it's only now, as I look at it through the eyes of an adult, that I realize how horrible this game is. Seriously. This game's flaws impacted me so much that the habits I picked up from playing this game as a kid still stick with me as an adult, even affecting my videos to this very day. The game starts off with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan on the Trade Federation ship, preparing for the meeting with Newt Gunray that never happened. This is where I have to mention one of the more ambitious things I'd ever seen at the time, the cutscenes. From what I understand, this game was developed in tandem with the movie, working off little more than blurry screenshots and short snippets of footage sent in by George Lucas. With that in mind, for all its flaws, the FMV cutscenes actually look amazing. Though I will say the characters look more soulless than the dwarves in Snow White. Speaking of character models, the in-game character models look okay, I guess. But, no, wait. What the hell? Jeez, blurry screenshots is right, what happened? Did they take the screenshots George Lucas sent of the characters from the movie and just wrap them around some generic, stale character model? Who's this even supposed to be? Is that supposed to be Liam Neeson? He looks like a monkey with his torso on backwards. This is something I'd expect from early PlayStation games, not from something that came out a year after Spyro. The first major flaw comes in when you realize just how bad the controls are. It may not seem bad at first, but soon you'll begin to feel it as you randomly flail your lightsaber around at enemies and use the spray and pray technique with your blasters. Aiming is a pain in the butt since you don't have crosshairs. Combine that with the sometimes top-down, sometimes quasi-isometric camera angles, and you begin to understand the true depth of the depravity that you've dove balls deep into. I often find myself having to go backwards and forwards again, moving left and right the whole time as I attempt to hit an enemy. And I often end up just standing there with the lightsaber deflecting their shots back at them in vain, trying to get the enemies to hit themselves. Seriously, the biggest challenge in this game doesn't come from the puzzles or the bosses or the swarms of enemies. No. The real final boss in this game is the broken, crippled controls. And again, this game came out almost a year after Spyro the Dragon, which set a clear standard for 3D PlayStation games. This is the game's biggest flaw. Controls so inexcusably god-awful it left a permanent scar on me for the rest of my life. The controls will get you killed more often than any skill issue anyone could possibly have. You remember in my Gex and Ape Escape videos how I used to go from side to side as I moved? I blamed it on the controller I was using at the time, because I didn't realize until I revisited this game for the first time in decades just how much this game destroyed my muscle memory. It still affects every single game I play to this day. Like right here. I tried to hop on this hover platform the battle droids were on, but because of the broken controls and buggy environment, I glitched through the floor and died. Now I have to start the whole level over because I didn't save. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Make sure you save often. Save after every puzzle, after getting an item, after beating an enemy, and save at the beginning of every level. Otherwise, you'll die and have to restart the whole level over again. And trust me, there are some parts of this game you most certainly do not want to repeat. And once you get used to the terrible controls, you'll find out the game is actually relatively easy for the most part. You navigate your way through the ventilation shafts, either avoiding or destroying the maintenance droids as you make your way to the dropships to hitchhike down to the surface of Naboo, where you meet Jar Jar Abrams. I mean Jar Jar Binks. Sorry, they're so similar I get them confused sometimes. I have to point out that you can actually die really easy in this game. Like, really easy. And you'll often die to the stupidest things. Like right here in the jungles of Naboo, I died to a falling tree. A stupid tree! I died so much over the first few levels that I finally had to give up and cheat. Yeah, this is the game that caused me to start using cheat codes in video games on a regular basis. I'm sorry, but when a game is so easy they had to resort to cheap ways to kill you, that's where I draw the line. But wherever, if you're cheating, you're not working hard enough at the game, and that's a hollow victory. No, screw this! The game has enough challenge in it just trying to navigate all these stupid mazes and trying to keep the stupid queen alive. Yeah, I'll get to that in a little bit. But they had to put all sorts of stupid death traps and crap in it to add artificial difficulty to it. That's a load of crap, and I'm not having it! Alright, so here's how it works. On the main menu, go down to Options. Then press Triangle, Circle, Left, L1, R2, Square, Circle, Left. If you did it right, you'll hear a sound. Then hold in order, L1, select, and triangle, it'll take you to a menu where you can ask the level select and a soundboard. But the only thing I care about here is player doesn't die. Why player can't die instead of invincibility? I'll get to that. So anyway, you meet Jar Jar, who looks like a mangled orange turd, who leads you to his home in Otogunga, where he leads you to meet Boss Nass, who gives you access to a bongo. Then Dollar Tree Liam Neeson sends you on a stupid fetch quest to go rescue Darth Jar Jar through a relatively straightforward maze of mediocre puzzles and plenty of guards to glitch your way past. Seriously, I just walked past most of the guards who were standing in the doorways, and it almost never causes you to take damage. In my playthroughs of this game as a kid, I used to find weird stuff all the time. Be careful in Otogunga, because it's really easy to fall through the floor, which you can see in action right here. The bad controls will cause you to replay most of the more athletic puzzles multiple times. It can get really annoying if you haven't gotten used to the game's crappy learning curve yet. You can't just simply jump and move in midair like in most games. You have to aim, jump to the next platform, which then starts to sink, while you painstakingly turn yourself using the D-pad to aim for the next platform, then double jump, fall in the water, rinse, repeat. Though sometimes you'll come across a timed door, like right here. You'll move this platform to flip this switch, which opens the door, but you gotta be quick because you only have a short window before the door closes and you have to go back and flip the switch again. I also have to mention the dialogue. Without discussing the lousy voice acting, this is one of those games that uses dialogue trees to determine your progression through the level. You're usually given a good choice and a bad choice. They utilize a hidden light side, dark side system. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but I think the more bad choices you make in the early levels, the harder it gets in the later levels? I'm not 100% sure, but if you're nice to people, they're often way more likely to help you out. Sometimes they also give you the option to use a Jedi mind trick, which is pretty cool and kind of rare for Star Wars games at the time. But you gotta be smart when using them. Sometimes they're very helpful and sometimes they don't work, like with this guy. You have the option of using a mind trick on him, but just like in the movies, it only works on the weak-minded. Which means that, unlike the Gungan in Otogunga, Grendel here isn't stupid. Though sometimes you have to use mind tricks to progress properly. There'll be some levels where you can get through the level without having to use your weapons, but not always. Like here in Otogunga. This guard attacked me, so I used an energy ball. I missed and they just harmlessly ran past me. But then there's a part later in the level where you're supposed to fight some Gungan guards, but I just skipped that, walked past him and joined Joke Brinks in the bubble lift to finish the level while the guards pelt the walls with energy balls in a vain attempt to kill me. Yeah, I chose the pacifist run. Don't judge me. So the next level shows the bridge to Theed being destroyed and you have to go the long way around as Jar Jar falls into the river. This is the first time the force push comes in handy. Yeah, you can force push by pressing the triangle button. Though it does have to recharge, so don't rely on it too heavily, but it's really nice to have and it's very useful, especially when you're in a sticky situation. So then you make your way through the incredibly maze-like gardens and eventually reach the city gates, which are guarded by a tank. There are two switches you need to use your force push on to open both gates, both of which are hidden and you have to jump for. One of them is fairly easy to find, being just out of view, but the other one took me over an hour and a trip to YouTube to find. You'll never guess where it is. Yeah, it's just off screen. How in the world would anybody find this? You gotta be really bored and think, you know, I'm just gonna start randomly force pushing in random directions and hope for the best. At least the other switch is visible with a simple double jump, but this one you can't see at all. Screw this, next level. Now we find ourselves separated from Qui-Gon and the others, and we have to escort the Queen through a long maze to get to the hangar, while the Queen keeps whining the whole time. The biggest problem with this level is that the battle droids keep targeting the Queen, so you have to protect her while she gripes about her dress.
You're stepping on my dress.
I swear the Queen's lines were written by Kathleen Kennedy. So after clearing the area of threats, you eventually come to a bridge. After crossing this bridge, you come to a place where you need to be really fast and really careful. Like, really fast. Unlike other levels, the Queen has a health bar here. By this point of the level, she was in pretty rough shape, so... Wait. What was that? Let me hear that again. What on earth is that? Is that supposed to be an agonized scream of death? Sure doesn't sound like she's in agony to me. Then again, she's been taking a pretty hard pounding the whole level.
Phrasing?
Anyway, I'm done embarrassing myself. So, this part of the level took me a little over 2 hours of trial, error, and death to figure out, before I finally gave up and asked a buddy of mine for help. Thank you, Shrubby1989. You're a lifesaver. Literally. So anyway, I finally got past this part, then made it to the hangar, and thus, the next level. I have to stop for a minute and mention that one of the downsides of using Player Can't Die is that you can't use the cannons if your health is at 0. This is why it's called Player Can't Die as opposed to invincibility. And even the phrase Player Can't Die is still misleading, because not only is it not true invincibility, but you absolutely can die. It's just you can't be killed by enemies when your health reaches 0. Unless, as I did, you get pushed through a wall. The next level takes us to Tatooine, where we play as Qui-Gon Jinn. These are my favorite levels because you don't need to kill anyone here. You can. You absolutely can. In some of my past playthroughs, I'd go through both levels just doing nothing but slaughtering the entire town. But first thing you do is run into a group of Tusken Raiders. You wipe them out, all of them, then make your way into Mos Espa and meet Shmi Skywalker, who takes you to meet Anakin. Oh, and watch out for the drunks who like to push you around. You can usually just jump over them and keep moving, but if they start shooting at you, you're allowed to defend yourself, and the guards usually won't say anything. This is where I gotta bring back up the topic of the camera angle. The whole game has this sort of quasi-isometric-esque high-angle shot, making it really hard to see at a distance. Most levels you don't really need to see at any real distance because all the action is happening right in front of you. But in levels like this, it's really hard to see what's around you because there's nothing to see most of the time. I also end up suffering from sensory deprivation from all the similar colors and empty space. It confuses my eyes and I end up jumping so I can get my bearings straight. So after talking to Anakin, he takes you through the junkyard. This is the most dangerous part of the level. On top of having to navigate through the maze-like junkyard, you have to be very careful of every jump, especially when jumping off of high places like this platform here. If you're not careful, you'll fall to your death. Yes, you do take fall damage. There's also this thing right here. Touch it and it grinds you into mincemeat. After making it through the junkyard, you finally meet Watto, who gripes at you about not having any money. Afterwards, you talk to Anakin, who tells you his pod racer's missing a few pieces, and now you gotta travel all over town looking for people to help and trade for the parts you need. Oh, and don't forget to talk to this Twi'lek here. Otherwise, there's an interaction at the beginning of the next level that won't make any sense. Now, I'm not going to talk about all the trades and side quests and all that, but I will mention this part right here. You have to rescue a young boy named Tomo from someone named Captain Neg. But the smart Alex security door tries to kill you, so you have to find another way around. I was stuck on this level for over a year before I finally found this tightrope, which I never saw before. I spent over a year trying to jump from the edge of the platform onto the balcony. What? YouTube didn't exist yet, and getting on the internet was hard for me at the time. And yes, I just glitched through the wall. So after a boss battle and a mediocre collectathon, you make your way back to Anakin and head to the next level. So finally, it's the day of the big race. You go over and talk to the Twi'lek girl who makes a pass at you, then takes you to see Jabba, who offers to pay you in return for using you as a chew toy. Story of my life. This is where I had to start the level over because certain weapons have this stupid auto-aim thing that caused me to accidentally shoot an innocent bystander off screen during the fight, and now I'm a wanted criminal. So after a quick restart, I'm back, and now you can go into the cantina. So after that, you want to talk to this guy who tells you not to follow him. But completely ignore that and follow him, because otherwise you'll never get to see Watto, and you can't progress in the level. After that, you go down to the track and chase down a thief for another boring mini-boss, then a cutscene before the next level, which is basically just meant to introduce Darth Maul. The next level takes you back to Coruscant to escort the Queen to the Senate chambers. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. Did I say escort? I mean go rescue her after she gets kidnapped. Yeah, they pulled the oldest cliche in the book. Really, Lucasfilm? You couldn't think of anything more original? Then it's back to Naboo for the last 2 levels, which have this really annoying gimmick where you spend the whole time swapping back and forth between Padme and Obi-Wan. Yeah, it's stupid, I know, but it's actually executed pretty well for what we ended up getting, and it's pretty innovative for its time. Though I have to say, starting you off as Obi-Wan, then immediately switching out to Padme is just teasing you. These levels repeatedly switch up between the final battle with Darth Maul and the showdown with Nute Gunray in the palace. Fortunately, it seems Panaka can't die in this levels, so you have that going for you, and Qui-Gon's death is scripted, so he won't die either. After a long, arduous journey, you finally reach the last level, and the final showdown with Darth Maul and Nute Gunray. This being the final level, you'd think there's a lot happening, but no, it's just more of the same crap. The first thing you do is walk into a heavily guarded death trap. The Obi-Wan portion is nerve-wracking for me because it requires a great deal of blind leaps of faith. And you really gotta watch your step because the whole level takes place on a narrow ledge over a bottomless pit. The rest of Padme's level is pretty straightforward. Just make your way to the throne room and shoot all the droids while looking for the colored passkeys. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that while playing as Padme in this level, you have to collect colored passkeys. And the red one is hidden up on a ledge where you're sure to miss it and spend 20 to 30 minutes looking for it. And then there's this. I believe the angry video game nerd said it best. Artificial intelligence? More like genuine stupidity. Anyway, back to Obi-Wan, and you spend 10 to 15 minutes making yet another blind jump, another maze puzzle, and finally make your way to the main reactor for the final duel with Darth Dipstick, then transition back to the final portion of Padme's level. Make your way to the throne room and take down Nute Gunray, then watch Qui-Gon die for some of the worst voice acting I have ever heard.
Die, Jedi, die. No! I have killed your master, and now it is your turn to die, young Jedi.
Then finish off Darth half-off, and finally hear Qui-Gon's last words. And that's the Phantom Menace on PlayStation. Bad voice acting, cheap deaths, glitches, and bugs galore. Is it crap? Yes, undeniably. It's trash with a capital T. But it's trash that has an odd appeal to it. It's not 30-day-old orangutan diarrhea that you can smell from 20 miles away. It's more like a 2 million-year-old fossilized turd that you found in a museum. It's crap, but it's interesting crap. It's fun to play as long as you look past its flaws. And yes, even with quote-unquote invincibility, it's still a hard challenge, and with as much crap as this game put me through, I don't feel bad at all for cheating. If you're able to pick it up, be expecting a challenging, buggy mess that's also a fun ride. I'm Warevo, I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me, and please, be kind to one another. Thank you, and God bless.